I want to kick things off with a simple statement, but it's something that's taken me a really long time to say with any real confidence. Yup, that's it. My quiet approach to life, the fact that I need my alone time, it isn't some kind of flaw. It's my gift. And I have a feeling I'm not the only one who feels this way. But it wasn't always this way. For so many of us, it's just not easy to feel that way. I mean, how can you see your own value when it feels like the whole world is operating on a totally different frequency? Yeah, it really does feel like we're living in a world that was pretty much made for extroverts. You know what I mean? A world that just runs on this loud, super fast energy that can be, well, pretty overwhelming. It's this world where being loud gets mistaken for being confident or even happy. It seems like everyone has something to say, right? But is anyone actually listening? So for those of us who might speak a little more softly, it's just so easy to feel completely left out. And that pressure, it feels constant, especially at work. Just think about the modern open-plan office. It's this huge sea of noise, endless distractions, and trying to get any quiet, focused work done, it feels pretty much impossible. And then there's the social side of things, like those networking parties. That expectation that you have to be on all the time, to perform. It can be absolutely draining. And it all just seems to be dominated by these big, loud personalities. So when you're constantly being pushed to be something you're not, it's no wonder you start to feel like you just don't fit in. Okay, so let's get into it. What does being an introvert actually mean? It's time we bust some myths and look at the reality. All right, let's clear a few things up. The biggest myth? That we're shy. They are not the same thing. We can be totally social, but think of it like a battery. Ours just runs out faster. And antisocial? Nope. We just value really deep, meaningful connections way more than a room full of small talk. And when we need that quiet time, it's not because we dislike people. It's how we recharge our batteries and reconnect with ourselves. And get this, believe it or not, there's actually some fascinating science behind all of this. It literally turns out our brains are wired differently. And it all boils down to two key chemicals. Okay, so first up, we've got dopamine. You can think of it like that jolt of energy, that reward buzz you get from something new, like taking a risk or meeting new people. For extroverts, this stuff feels absolutely amazing. But then there's this other chemical, acetylcholine. And this is a totally different kind of reward. It's more of a slow burn pleasure, that good feeling you get when you're really concentrating, like reading a book or just focusing your mind. It's a much quieter, much calmer feeling. So here's the big reveal, the key difference. Extroverts are basically fueled by that dopamine rush. But for introverts who are actually more sensitive to it, that same rush can feel like, well, sensory overload. Our reward comes from acetylcholine, that feeling of being relaxed, alert, and content. It's not a choice we're making, it's just how we're wired. And once you really get that, it changes everything. You can stop trying to be someone you're not and start to embrace your own unique gifts. Because these things, they're not weaknesses. They're your quiet, deep strengths. I mean, think about it, right? We're often the best listeners in any room because we're not just waiting for our turn to talk. When we do speak, we make our words matter. We might not have 1,000 friends, but the connections we do have, they're incredibly deep and meaningful. And we use that alone time not to hide from the world, but to reflect, to reconnect, and to find some clarity. Okay, so the big question is, how do we actually use this knowledge to thrive? How do we find our own comfort and strength in what can feel like a really noisy world? Well, it really comes down to a few simple but powerful strategies. First, create these little bubbles of peace for yourself. Maybe pop in some headphones and use music to create your own quiet space. Second, find a sanctuary. It could be a quiet park or even just an empty room you can duck into at lunchtime. And finally, and this is the big one, you have to embrace solitude. Stop seeing it as a failure to be social and start seeing it for what it is, an absolutely essential way to recharge your batteries. See, your quiet approach isn't a disadvantage at all. It's just a different way of being powerful. I love this quote from Gandhi. In a gentle way, you can shake the world. And it's so true. Your deep thoughts, your carefully chosen words, your ability to really listen, these are incredible strengths. So I'll leave you with this to think about. In a world that seems to celebrate the loudest voice in the room, what could we all learn if we started to value these quiet strengths just a little bit more?